Hello and welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, leave us a 5-star review. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined as always by Mr. Bo Brock and Damien Anderson of Arizona Cardinal running back fame. Gentlemen, hello and happy Monday here on PHNX Cardinals Live.
Johnny, Bo, always happy to be here. Something I look forward to. Just can't wait to get started, man.
During a slow off season, the closer we get to the draft is a good day.
Oh man, all this talk about Aiden Hutchinson maybe not going number one. I said, are we in April? Yes, that means that the line season is in full force, and the Cardinals have an option or two to make up here before the 28th of the month. We'll be out at the Ainsworth for the first round in the NFL draft. The Cardinals picking 23rd. And maybe, gentlemen, we got a little bit more clarity as to who they could or could not be targeting. Per the NFL Network, the Arizona Cardinals recently hosted Purdue outside linebacker, edge rusher, George, let me make sure I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, Karlaftis. He was a standout all Big Ten player and somebody who could, you would assume, plug in opposite Marcus Golden now that Chandler Jones is gone. My question to you, gentlemen, is whether or not you like this player. I think he's a great prospect. I think he's a firm first-round pick. My question, and I'll start with you, Mr. Bo Brock, you take this guy at 23. Do you trust Vance Joseph with his development after what we've seen with both Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins?
Hate to do this to you. I think we agreed it's Karlaftis.
Karlaftis? Is that the consensus? Okay.
That sounds more Greek.
Yeah,
that sounds Greek.
Respect on Damien Anderson's. I believe it's your top prospect, right? At 23.
I liked it. I mean, a guy I know, him and her. You know what I mean? Talked about it. So.
That's right. You've mentioned it. The Greek Freak 2.0. Grew up in Athens, Greece. Just destroyed the combine. As far as the measurables at the combine, very impressive. As far as the stats he put up for the Boilermakers in the Big Ten, pretty pedestrian. 4.5 sacks. His best season was his freshman year. 7.5 sacks, 17 hurries. But the question to answer, do we trust VJ, defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals, with another first-round linebacker? Is he going to, taper off some playing time down the stretch? I think, it's the theory of insanity at this point. Like, I think that would be a little nutty, right? I mean, when you look at where the needs are, sure, edge is there, and Karlaftis would fill that. But when does he fill it? Does he fill it immediately? I mean, I think you look at the tiers of pass rushers, as you mentioned, Walker, okay? But Walker's up there. You got Aiden Hutchinson, you got Kayvon Thibodeaux, and then you've got a guy like Karlaftis, the Greek Freak. I think he's in a different tier, and I think that VJ would probably take him along slowly. Where I look at this roster, maybe you have some needs that you can fill on the offensive side of the football more immediately.
Guys, how do you make up for 25% of your pass rush that's gone? How do you make up for losing Chandler
You be
Jones?
active in free agency and sign a veteran for Vance Joseph. You don't sit on your hands till late April. That's my answer.
Good point, Johnny. However, you have an opportunity to get George Karlaftis, a guy that measurables resembles Nick Bosa in terms of player comp, resembles Kerrigan from Washington. We've seen both of them do very well in the National Football League. So obviously you have a hole to fill with Chandler Jones. You need to create, I mean, you could say manufacture, some pressure on opposing offenses. But you need that need. And to me, it's narrative about a linebacker. He's a defensive end, guys. We know what he plays. He's going to be an edge rusher. He may drop in the flats. This guy's going to play defensive end, 3-4-4-3, whatever. If they draft George Karlaftis, he's going to play defensive end. That being said, you go back to Isaiah Simmons and the linebacker that they took last year.
Zaven.
Yeah, Zaven Collins. You got those two. It's about facts and circumstances. Everyone knew that the guy coming from Clemson was going to be – he's an athlete. We didn't know really where to put him. Zaven Collins, you got Jordan Hicks there, a guy that's starting, productive. That's a disconnect for me between the coaching staff and the player development side. That's not really between the coaches because they can only cook with the groceries that are provided, right? So you got to study Jordan at linebacker, and you just throw a guy in like, hey, we drafted a first rounder, figure it out. To me, it was probably a situation where they saw the size, they saw the speed of Xavier, and they thought that he was going to be able to come in and play a multitude of positions, and that wasn't the case.
I look at this guy's scouting report. Let me dust it off real quick. Number one thing against his weaknesses, not a playmaker against the run. Not ideal for somebody who's being number one pick, 23rd overall, and also coming to an Arizona Cardinal defense that, oh, by the way, can't stop the run. And Chandler Jones wasn't great at that, but he was better than most. I have concerns about this on a multitude of levels. Number one, I do not trust Vance Joseph as far as I can throw him to play this young man in critical passing downs over somebody like Devon Kennard or Dennis Gardeck. Number one, that's just, if we're in November football and the Cardinals are in, let's say, a must-win game at San Francisco, and we want this kid to go after and lay out Trey Lance, I don't think he's on the field, right? Especially if he's not great against the run, he's not earning snaps when it matters most. I also think you take anything but one of the two defensive tackles from Georgia who I think are generational, and you do not have enough young talent at those positions. Anything other than that at 23, I believe is offensive malpractice. You cannot go 3 straight linebackers in 3 straight first round, gentlemen, and look Kyler Murray in the eye and tell him you're committed to winning and improving his offensive side of the ball. I do not care, especially if you take this young man. I'm not going to rip on Purdue as a program. They've had a nice resurgence, but the Big Ten is not the SEC. And on some certain Sundays, it's not the ACC. The lower half of the Big Ten certainly is not the high-end ACC or the high-end Big 12. So you're going to take a guy that was playing normally Saturday mornings about 9 or 10 a.m. Midwestern time, Central time, that had under 5 sacks next year and expect him to come in and immediately contribute. I think he's going to be a good player. But I just think for what the Arizona Cardinals need for next season, I number one, I don't think he would play because I don't trust the coordinator. And number two, he is not a complete player for me to take at 23. Not yet.
Johnny, how did Nick and Joey Bosa do in the National Football League coming from a Big Ten school?
They had complete resumes of ass kickers at Ohio State, and I watched them every
Nick
Saturday
Bosa didn't play his senior year. Nick Bosa didn't play his senior year. He got hurt. He had
I saw him,
strain.
and he was close to a can't-miss prospect as they come. Even a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, who I love, out of the University of Michigan, is not being compared to a Bosa or a Myles Garrett. That tells me the drop-off is steep. Bo, you just mentioned it. We have the halves of the tier 1 edge rushing prospects. They're going top 10 to 12. Then we have the next group of guys, and I think they're led by this young man.
You know, it's interesting, though, what Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons didn't have, and this is not a knock or indictment on Jordan Hicks, is a guy that comps very well to him. Talk about Big Ten pass rushers. One of the greatest of all time, J.J. Watt, is on your roster, and he would be a great mentor for a guy like Karlaftis. And you talk about stats, and don't get bogged down by the stats because J.J. Watt didn't reach double-digit sacks during his time at Wisconsin. And playing for Purdue, I'm sure a guy like Karlaftis was facing double, triple teams at a time.
It's a great point.
Nobody on that line that's worthy of slowing down like that. So, you know, I don't hate the pick. I mean, if it's a nightmare scenario as far as who's off the board at the wide receiver position, it wouldn't be a horrible pick. You know, and that's saying that I feel like that's too big of an indictment on Karlaftis.
But it's almost like what they faced with Xavier last year. The board was picked clean by pick 16, and they took him. And he was going to go to the Raiders a couple picks later. That's why I can't knock the Cardinals for what they did with Zaven Collins. If you pass on one of these Georgia defensive tackles or one of the top 5 or maybe 6, if you want to include the kid from Penn State, receivers for this guy, there will be plenty of people disappointed in the Valley.
Johnny, I agree with you. I don't think that if that happens and they get to a point where it's a Georgia D tackles or a can't miss wide receiver, I think that happens. That makes a lot of sense for all the reasons that you mentioned. Kyler Murray needs help. The defensive line needs depth, right? So if it's picked clean and a guy like Karlaftis is there and it's value versus need, and you're looking at it, he has a high value. We need a defensive end. We need to manufacture those pressure and get those numbers up because you got to replace 25% of your sack production. So I like Karlaftis there. But to me, the question becomes, Karlaftis is there, has a higher grade, or there's another receiver with 5 points within that. What do you do, Johnny? I throw that back to you.
I take a receiver because it's a offensive league. It's a passing league. The Cardinals do not have a bona fide number 2 receiver. They at least have Marcus Golden, who got 12 sacks last year. And I talk about this at my new article at gophnx.com. They could still post-draft go out and sign a Jadeveon Clowney, who had 9 sacks last year for Cleveland. I do not think you could bring in – we've seen receivers now seamlessly transition to the NFL and get 700-800 yards as rookies. Pass rushers can do the same. But I think now where all of the rule changes, officials holding their whistles for offensive guys and blowing them on defensive guys, I think the game is predicated on scoring points and having different makers on the outside. I think edge rusher is still a top 5 position in the NFL, and I think it's a top 3 need for the Cardinals. But for me, this team right now, the strength is their offense. They've lost too many pieces defensively. They aren't great. They have huge glaring holes and inexperience. We don't know what the two inside backers are going to be next year. I would say just keep doubling and tripling down with Kyler Murray in the offense, because at the end of the day, that's where your bread is buttered.
Doubling and tripling. I wish they'd done so that much. I mean, when you looked at when DeAndre Hopkins went out, I posted on my Twitter account today, AJ Green, as far as key statistics and key moments in games last year, was his main target. I mean, as far as red zones on third down, it was AJ Green. It was nobody else. And right now, when you look at this Cardinals offense, if DeAndre Hopkins, like, there's no contingency plan once again. So I got to wonder that Steve Keim is eyeing at 23, finding that fallback plan, unless he's looking to go, kick the tires on a guy like Julio Jones later in free agency. I just don't know if you can really wait on that. Here's where I think the difference is between going after a Karlaftis and going after a wide receiver, might be the 5th or 6th wide receiver of the first round at 23, is there's a big drop off between the talent, between what Karlaftis is at 23 and who's going to be available at 55. And with who's going to be available at wide receiver in that spot as well. I just think that you'd be better served to go get that playmaker and get in with that 5th-year option on a playmaker that you can couple with Kyler Murray going forward. I just think that there's more value there. If it was down between a pass rusher with the caliber of a Kayvon Thibodeau or Trayvon Walker, I think it's a slam dunk. You go get that guy.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, guys, what you're saying all makes sense. Obviously, you have to couple it with Kyler Murray getting the football down the football field. Johnny, as you mentioned, it's an offensive predicated league, loosening some of the rules, making opportunities for quarterbacks, wide receivers. That transition, yeah. Is that value going to be there at 23? I think is the question, worth a first-round draft pick. And that's just something that the Cardinals have to look at. As you mentioned, I think we've seen this with the Steve Keim type of philosophy. Get guys in free agency, sign them to those 1 or 2 year deals, see how they play, because they're eager and wanting to. And we know that the later that they wait in the game, the cheaper that they're going to be. So there may be some guys that they're talking to, having discussions and going to see what's going to happen. But I like Karlaftis. If they go a receiver, I wouldn't be, I'd say, upset. But I think that the main concerns, Kyler Murray healthy can make plays happen. He has a tight end. He has a running back. He has a wide receiver. Hopefully Rondell Moore gets more involved. AJ Green, if they get him back, he's going to be a threat as well. But to me, that blaring hole, what you're missing, and losing Chandler Jones, you're missing that production, you're missing that leadership. And Bo, to your point, the fact that you have a guy like J.J. Watt that could help and groom and bring Karlaftis along, to me, makes a lot more sense than anything else.
I'm glad we're just all on the same page, because it really feels like we're trending toward a couple different directions here. Edge, there's the big 5, right? Of course, Hutchinson, Walker, Thibodeau, Jermaine Johnson. A lot of people like him in the chat out of Florida State. And then, of course, Karlaftis, when you talk about there's a significant drop off, but he's a firm first-round pick. Then there's the big 5 at receiver, right? Led by, if you want to go Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Drake London, Jamison Williams, and then the kid out of Arkansas, Burks. I think those are right now 10 players that we feel like the Cardinals could probably have a fit to fill a need, where I think I would get worried. I would take a Karlaftis over one of these 2nd or 3rd tier corners. I do not think the value is there to pick a corner, even if somebody, I'm a Stingley Jr. fan. I don't think he'll be available, but I know they have interest. We talked about it before with a Trent McDuffie. I would take a front edge player over him, even if somebody like Karlaftis that I'm not over the moon about. So at least they're playing in this sandbox of, okay, here are our needs. We know our needs. We're going to address them. I think what bothered a lot of people last year is the Zaven Collins pick kind of came out of left field, because okay, is he going to play outside? No, he's inside. Well, you have Jordan Hicks, and you just let go Devondre Campbell, who went on to be a Pro Bowler in Green Bay, all pro, I think. And then Isaiah Simmons. It's could we be misjudging this whole thing, Bo Brock? And could they be lying in the weeds for a position that's not of need? At least with somebody like this, you see a future for him, albeit maybe not as a rookie, to come in and have a role long term.
Yeah, when I look at this roster, you're just looking for somebody that can make an impact right away, because I think that's really where their frustration lies. Even if it's in the interior of the offensive line, I know they went out and got Will Hernandez, but if they go out and Zion Johnson's on the board and they take him out of Boston College, but he's going to play, 90% of the snaps for this offense, and he's going to hold down that right side of the offensive line, I don't think anybody's going to have an issue with it. But,
No.
That would be something that would kind of come out of right field because of where we see the needs. But the one thing that we lack, that everybody lacks right now, is insight into what's going on in that war room. That was, in Florence over the weekend at the Country Thunder. But for the most part during draft season, these guys have been, just churning away, looking at these prospects. We don't know where they have these guys ranked. We don't know how far, if they have any of those top 5 wide receivers in their top 23 best players available, because we know Steve Keim likes to go with that. But yeah, it's interesting. And then how Kliff Kingsbury plays young players compared to how Vance Joseph plays young players. I mean, you could point to Kliff Kingsbury to guys who haven't developed. I mean, Andy Isabella on the offensive side of the football, it wasn't for lack of playing time, but he was a guy that just never found it. I mean, he's the comparison to the guys on the side of the defense. Sure, he wasn't a first-round pick, but you have Zayvon Collins and Isaiah Simmons. I think Simmons kind of gets the benefit of the doubt because he was drinking out of a water hose or a fire hose his first year learning 6 positions. But, I just hope they keep it simple. They feel a need, find a guy at 23, which is not easy in the NFL draft, to make an impact early on.
You mentioned it, Bo. A lot of things have to go right for this team. Go ahead, Damien.
No, Johnny, you made a good point about the receivers in terms of the top 5. And to me, it only makes sense with 2 because you've got those intermittent pass route running guys like a Rondell Moore, Andy Isabella, right? You kind of already have that makeup in like Olave and the kid from Penn State. But to me, what makes sense is Jameson Williams, which coming off the ACL, when does he play? When does he make that impact? To your point, Bo, you need him. We know the sustainability of the NFL player. You want him for all 17, possibly 18, 19 games, right? Or does he come on for the second stretch of the season? To me, I like a guy like Drake London if he's there because the size, we know like Kyler Murray likes big targets. Those 2 make sense. If those 2 aren't available, I like Karlaftis.
Just to play off of that, Damien, I got some insight over the weekend, a text thread that I'm on with regard to 2 players in particular that the Cardinals may or may not have interest in. What it said, I'm told, is they like Jameson, maybe more so than any receiver. They view him as a 1A Pro Bowl type of receiver. There are concerns with Chris Olave that his upside, while they like him, is no more than a high-end number 2. Now, that's all he'd be asked to be opposite DeAndre Hopkins, but take that for what it's worth. It is a gamble, just like the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And speaking of the app, the NBA playoffs mean next-level basketball. Get ready for all the action by betting the play-in tournament with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets instantly, no matter what you do. All DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also bet on NBA hoops with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game for an even bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. Plus, each day of the play-in, which begin tomorrow, get a free, risk-free bet up to $10 in your game, same-game parlay. If it doesn't hit, you know what's not in the play-in game. By the way, the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are the best team in the NBA. And tip off later during the postseason. We're going to call it a call to action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code PHNX. Bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game during the play-in tournament. Get $150 in free bets instantly. That's promo code PHNX at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customer only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for more details. I also want to remind everybody, children 5 and older are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccine is the best tool we have to reduce the chances of getting sick with COVID-19. The vaccine can also reduce the risk of being hospitalized or even dying from the disease. It's safe, free, and highly effective vaccines are available right now throughout Arizona. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location nearest to you.
I thought we did our co-host Damien Anderson dirty with that video of Karlaftis' first play. He's blowing up a play in the backfield against his beloved Northwestern Wildcats. How could we do that to our guy DA?
That's a while ago. It's all good, man. That's in the past. They got to do better.
That's right.
Be better. You can't let that happen.
Look, if he's doing it against NFC West opponents, all the better down the line for you, DA. So I think the biggest budding bromance in the NFL since Edelman and Tom Brady is brewing here in our backyard between general manager Steve Keim and head coach Kliff Kingsbury. Over the weekend, my girl Cheyenne from Camel Country was there at Country Thunder. She caught this video of Blake Shelton, super fan, performing in the VIP. There's
in the Raptors.
That's the VIP section, my man. Steve Keim is just wearing out a folding chair, and Kliff Kingsbury behind him, just being a golden god, enjoying a silver bullet, like our guy Johnny here later in the show, raging to Blake Shelton's show. Now, when I posted this on Twitter, there were some people that were big mad about this, which I don't understand. It's
get the hell out of here.
It's a new Twitter tough guy that is like, you better be working at your craft 24/7 or else I'm going to light you up. But just hilarious.
Oh, I love Steve at the end going back and forth. Oh, that's great stuff.
He's having a good time.
What anybody thinks.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of the position that you're in, guys, we know that you're going to get scrutiny regardless, unless you win a championship. I mean, everyone can't be the Bill Belichick, in his cabin during draft night and with his, stack of draft Bibles. That's not just going to happen. I mean, they're having a good time. People are going to talk. It's what we do. And they probably drank about a case of Natty Light and had a good time, man. They're rocking out.
No one cared. Go ahead.
Even Belichick is his do not disturb on his iPhone and Netflix and chilling at that time on a Friday night.
We've seen Belichick's Halloween costume pics with his girlfriend she's his wife now. Look those up if you haven't already. They're hilarious. No one gave a shit about Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani having a bromance with Steve Keim and their connection when the Cardinals were winning. When like peak Arians and those three were like bros talking about whiskey. Everybody loved it. Now that the Cardinals, even after a season in which they reached the postseason, everybody complains, right? Legitimately, every comment to Bo's tweet was, this is why they're inactive in free agency. You mean you want the man to spend 24 hours in his office and then not to go enjoy himself on a Friday or Saturday night? Good hell. Get a life. Hopefully people can contextualize this between like actual reality. Like, is Steve having a good, off season? We don't know because he's been inactive, but it's not because he's out partying at what is it called? Country Thunder?
Thunder.
The Thunder. Yeah. I'm thinking of the Thunder Down Under with the male strippers. That's a different thing.
I don't know why that's top.
Wow, I don't know.
Sorry, I hear Thunder an event. Producer Leah can't keep it together. Leah, have you visited that establishment before? Is it something you're familiar with? She says no.
I don't know how you even remembered it, Johnny, just off the top like that.
I feel like my wife went to it for her bachelorette party, maybe. Country Thunder.
Yeah, exactly, Rick James. They just think that Steve Keim is a robot, just tied to his desk, just making call after call. Hey, you got an edge? You got a wide receiver that I can have? He's like Dave Chappelle's the crackhead character. He's like, hey, you got any edge rushers over there? You got any
Tyrone Biggums.
I mean, come on, guys. It's like when a president's out golfing, everybody loves to just crush whoever president is, whatever side of the aisle is.
It's different when it's during a war, though, Bo.
Sure.
We're at war right now.
You got to contextualize everything. No, I mean, and you're right. And I mean, people are going to speak no matter what. I think that's the life we live in with social media. It just happens, right? And you being a head coach of the National Football League, the elite crew with being a general manager and a head coach. But to me, there looked like there were kids there in that video. So with that being said, I mean, it's a family event. Country Thunder, they're having a good time. As I said, they're enjoying themselves, man. And it's a weekend. And if anyone's ever visited out, it's a couple acreage filled. They got some great ATV tracks out there, but for the most part, they put up some part. Yeah, he's rocking out. He knows that the people are watching him, and he's enjoying it. He's having a good time. He's like, yo, this is for that extension. Thank you. Right? Yes. Security, I'm good.
Kliff, like I said this in the Slack message, Bo, when you sent it over the weekend, like, there is not an easier guy for me to root for than Kliff Kingsbury. Just like seems like the most laid back dude. Every time I've had a chance to interact with Kliff Kingsbury, his coaching aside, you think what you want about his ability to coach or not, the nicest dude, the most humble dude. Saul Bookman, our GM, and I had a chance to briefly visit with him at the NFL Combine earlier this offseason. Like, he is somebody you want to root for. You see all these kind of miserable coaches around the NFL. Like, I won't speak ill will of Joe Judge, but just like the doucher that he seemed like before the Giants parted ways with him, like, that is not Kliff Kingsbury. Kliff Kingsbury is a man of the people. And this is just great insight into like just hanging out, socializing behind his GM. I love the fact that he's just standing up basically by himself with a drink in his hand. Like, I want whatever, it's fine. I want Kliff Kingsbury to succeed because of this video.
You got to win, guys. You got to win.
For
You
sure.
got to win regardless, because if you don't win, people are going to be, remember that time they were at Country Thunder jamming it up? And I mean, this is all going to come back. And I mean, people just talk to talk, as I said before, but if you win, willing ails a lot of problems. And I think if, as long as Kliff and they continue in the right progression, we've seen it over the years, last 3 seasons, they've continued to get better. If Kliff does that, work with his relationship with Steve Keim, no one's going to have nothing to say but smiles and right on.
I think things have changed with Kliff Kingsbury. He's getting, he gets more and more comfortable each and every season. But after he got fired from his alma mater, he was a little bit more buttoned up, how he dealt with the media, his public persona. We didn't get to see it enough. I was kind of bummed that they weren't the Hard Knocks team last summer, that they're not eligible this year. It's going to be, I think, Detroit. But
yeah,
Kliff Kingsbury, I think he would have benefited from people getting a behind the scenes glimpse at how he operates, because nobody really knows. But what we do know is we haven't heard any leaks of people disliking him, at least within that locker room. And he's a player's coach, and everybody seems to love him. And he's got those silky smooth pipes too. He's got that slow jams voice.
I'm not going to comment on that, but all right.
He can sing me to sleep anytime. Absolutely.
And Thunder Down Under, right at Thunder Down Under.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Kliff could probably get a gig at Thunder Down Under. Let's be honest.
Stop.
Seen those pics, those ab pics?
Yeah, no,
you've seen those.
No,
pics.
I didn't. I did.
Give it a quick Google.
Yeah, that's right.
Search if you haven't already.
Well, regardless, the Cardinals, it's you're going to take some flack during the slow off season. The tweets where everybody was lighting up at PHNX_Cardinals. There were some good ones when the inside linebacker slides to 23. Loved that one. The extension jokes were hilarious. Everybody that chimed in that, we really appreciate it. We're excited to tell you about our brand new partner here over at PHNX. I'm talking about OG's. OG's is it's incredible. If you haven't checked in on OG's yet, it's one of the best brands, local brands. It's one of Arizona's first original scratch-made cannabis kitchens, and is dedicated to creating innovative and memorable cannabis-infused products that flavor life's journey. The quality of their products stem from the combination of accurate dosing and the amazing flavor. Edibles, they're not a one-size-fits-all product. That's why OG's is proud to offer a wide range of products for all demographics and all preferences. Even if you're at Country Thunder, their motto is flavoring life. It's something we can all get behind. Let's get tropical fruit flavors that include guava, strawberry, kiwi, raspberry, orange, pina colada. Are you kidding me? Let's get into it. OG's. Yeah, so proud that they're part of our amazing family here at PHNX. If you're interested in trying the amazingly delicious variety of flavors that OG's Brands has to offer, go to OG's, that's OGEEZ brands.com. That's OG'sbrands.com to find OG's near you. Also, we're excited about Athletic Greens. At least I am on a daily basis. Athletic Greens has got me feeling fantastic these days, Johnny. I'm feeling.
Do you chug it? We're going to talk chugging here in a second.
No,
do you chug it when you drink it?
I do not chug it. I actually sip it. I enjoy it. It's great. As far as it's just one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens. That's all you need. 8 ounces of water. It absorbs 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens that help you start your day right. Athletic Greens supports better sleep quality. I've been sleeping great recovery. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 5-star reviews. It costs less than $3 a day. Plus, you're investing in your health. That's right. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com / is it Suns? Is that how you get to it?
No, / Cardinals, my man.
Right,
This
Cardinals.
is the Cardinals show.
My copy for God's sake.
That wasn't me.
athleticgreens.com/Cardinals. That's athleticgreens.com/Cardinals to take ownership of your own health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Well, would you mind leading us into this next segment? It is one that is very near and dear to my heart. And for those of you who don't know, we'll become very familiar with what's about to take place.
All right. So opening night, Major League Baseball went down on Thursday, at least for the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's their lone victory so far this season. It was a walk-off job by Seth here on National Beer Night. And with that, my guy Johnny Venerable was taking ricochet shots from this walk-off victory because our friends over at PHNX D-backs,
former friends,
yeah, they were celebrating the walk-off victory by chugging some beers.
Also,
Perkins,
Connor Brum in the comments saying, "Chug the beer for Seth beer, guys."
Let's go.
That is our plan.
That's what we've been waiting for.
We got to wait till the end.
Do we have to wait till the end?
Yeah, we got to make.
We walk it off.
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna walk it off.
Sorry,
with
we're walking it off.
Beer,
so. I was gonna stay there.
You got to stay tuned until the end of the show, and we will chug these beers. And I promise you, I can chug a beer way better than Johnny Venerable.
Oh.
That's not saying that much.
That's not a high bar to pass.
So, a couple things. First of all, those sons of bitches, their team wins one game opening night, and it's open season. Leah, if we could, can we have some photographic evidence of what they're referring to? Because I want to give full transparency to this entire charade. First of all, number one, Michaela's taking cheap shots. Wouldn't expect anything less. But the fact that Derek and Jesse, people who I thought our friends with, quickly jumping on the bandwagon, I'll have to reassess, my relationship with both of them. This was month 1, month 2 of PHNX Cardinals in studio. I just got the freshest DraftKings tee, which I still sport regularly because it is clean and fresh. We were chugging a beer to try to get, Shearson was trying to get us more followers. God bless her soul, said, I'm going to chug a beer if we hit so many followers tonight on Twitter. We hit that mark. We were drinking Coors Light because she had brought it in. Here is the photo in question. I didn't want to get Coors Light on my DraftKings shirt. I had a long drive home to Maricopa. You guys know it's almost a 3-hour commute from Phoenix. And I also had to tuck my kids to bed, so I didn't want a bunch of beer all over me. So that is exactly, first of all, if you would have weighed the beer that night after we'd gotten finished drinking, I would have assured I had less beer left than Shearson and Frank. But because of my form, not wanting to get anything on my fresh DraftKings tee, I have been just completely dragged through the mud by this company I love, with my brothers and sisters taking shots at me almost 8 months after the fact. So here's what I'm going to do. Okay. We have a special event taking place later this month, April 28th, the Ainsworth, the NFL draft party. Come out. We're going to have more information as it becomes available. I, for whatever reason, have to redeem myself, have to redeem my family. Damien is not invited. My wife, everybody, Saul Bookman, get the hell out of these comments. This is my mother effing show. I will chug a beer, and I will chug the best beer you've ever seen. Beer of anybody's choosing, as long as
no
it's not
safety
an IPA.
support. No safety support.
No safety. Not as long as it's not an IPA. It can be a heavy beer, it can be Bud Heavy, Coors Heavy, whatever. At the Ainsworth, and I will put this to bed once and for all. And then this is my last day on the show, or it's your last day on the show. I thought I would have everybody's back here. But apparently it's just the cool thing to do, to jump on the guy who, at the end of the day, didn't want to disrespect DraftKings in his new gear. I was the only one rocking my DraftKings gear that night. I'm a company man, and yet time and time again, just dragged through the mud. That's all I have to say about it. Michaela, Jesse, Derek, you're all dead to me. You're never welcomed on the show again. And that's fine. Enjoy the Diamondbacks. We're going to enjoy the Cardinals here, where we class it up a little bit and don't drag other people down.
I don't even know where I'm still waiting.
Johnny,
get out of here! Get out! You're not involved in the show. No.
You're gonna get called out in this company.
A one-off time. I'm sorry. Okay, if I'm at the Ainsworth and I do a shitty job on the 28th, everybody come out. If you're not excited about the draft, at least come out to see this. I will take care of business, and I will redeem myself, even though I don't feel like I have to, in front of my former friends. Maybe I'll invite my kids there at 10 o'clock at night.
Is that how it is?
Post-draft, I'll have my 2-year-old, my 7-year-old there rooting me on.
You need some training videos, Johnny.
No, people I can count on at this point.
We need training videos leading up to it.
Graphic back up. We put the graphic back of John. He looks like he's singing along to Blake Shelton at Country Thunder right now.
Looks like someone made him drink like NyQuil, and before he goes to bed.
I mean, through all those excuses, what's with the two-hand thing? Can you explain that?
Yeah,
it's not two-handed. I didn't want to put the photo back up, Leah.
What were you stopping with that hand? What were you stopping? So I was chugging it, and there was debris coming off. Like, I haven't chugged a beer in forever. I'm 34 years old. I'm head of a household. No, get out of here, you. Get the hell out of here.
We have to be better than this, my guy. We have to be better than this. There's no
here.
way you should be this salty about it. You fucked up. You fucked up. Nobody else.
Sal, he called the beer debris. So on that right
there
there.
was beer.
I'm loving this picture of Damien helping you out there, Johnny. I appreciate that very much too.
I'm here to help. I do what I do. I help everybody else out.
Johnny, take your medicine. Take your 2 hands and take your medicine. Just gulp it down.
I've made my case. There's nothing more I can say at this point other than apparently I have to redeem myself for the Ainsworth Live April 28th post-draft after the Cardinals take.
I'll join you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Bo is not welcome now. He's an outsider because of how he's handled this whole situation. Very disappointed. He'll have to redeem and come back into my good graces. Saul, get out of it. No, what is
one thing? All right, you're pumping up the Ainsworth. I'm gonna make it better for you, okay?
Okay.
Because we're gonna get as many people as we can to come out just to see this from you, Johnny. So Byron Murphy will be there, confirmed.
Ooh,
wow! So Arizona Cardinals starting cornerback Byron Murphy will be at the Ainsworth with us. Will he chug a beer alongside me? TBD. But I think he's going to be there signing autographs for the people.
Johnny, can we create a prop bet? How many sips it takes?
We can create a prop bet of how long it will take me to do it.
So no.
How long we'll just use. Everybody can start betting. I can tell you right now. I'm not going to put a number on it, but it will be a very redeemable, acceptable time.
Is it a pint glass?
No, just I need a canned cold beer. That's what I want.
As the resident betting expert of PHNX, I'm setting the over/under at 10.5.
10.5 seconds. 10.5 seconds.
10.5 seconds.
That's embarrassing. If it's you better be faster than 10.5 seconds.
That's a long time. That's not. You can chug a beer
We're
faster
still talking
than 10
about
seconds.
Drinking beer, right, guys? We're still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ainsworth, April 28th. I will chug a beer. Byron Murphy will be there. My two.
Don't embarrass us in front of Byron Murphy.
He's second billing to me chugging a beer. That's what's happening. This show's over. It's gone off the rails. I want to remind everybody, like, subscribe, go to gophnx.com. You can check out my most recent article about the creativity Vance Joseph and the Cardinals will need to showcase to be able to replace Chandler Jones. Hint, it's not by taking another linebacker at 23. It's by going out and getting a veteran. Everybody be sure to become a member. It's 50 cents for the first month, $8.99 for the subsequent month, or you can save some coin, pay just under $60 for the entire year. Get yourself a free PHNX t-shirt in the process. PHNX Cardinals, or if you want a Diamondback shirt and you want to support that hack programming right now and what they're putting out there, that's fine too. In all seriousness, we love PHNX Diamondbacks to do a great job. They had one moment of weakness there, slamming your boy. I want to remind everybody else, go follow Bo Brock on Twitter at Bo Brock, Damien Anderson at Damien Anderson. I'm Johnny Venerable. Bo, you have anything else to say for yourself?
No, you just better show up on draft night. I don't care what analysis you bring. You just have to put down a beer for the show.
I want the graphic to be Byron Murphy and Johnny at the bottom holding his beer. The Redeemer night, right? You're going to redeem yourself.
The redemption tour starts. The redemption store.
Yes.
The redemption tour starts now. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Thanks, kid.